Hello and welcome to the Last Place Fantasy Football Podcast. My name is Ryan. I am here with my co-host Ethan, and we are here to do a rookie review, our second rookie review of the series. And we are going to be going through running backs and tight ends this week. Just reviewing our rookies from last year, how they did, how we think they're going to do this upcoming year, and just going over last year's data and just seeing like where did we place them in our tier list from last year, um, from our off season, so before the season even started, um, and see where we would re-tier them this year. And I've got to say, I was talking with Ethan before the podcast started.
Top
I
heavy.
don't think we got I don't think we got much wrong on this. Like there's a couple of guys that or at least one guy that we left off that
So
I think deserves to be in our tier list.
with that, I mean, we can
But
start talking about like our
yeah,
tier.
we can start talking about
So
it.
we only had Kincaid in tier one. For
Mm.
me, that was a little strategic because I wanted to kind of downplay how much I wanted Sam LaPorta on my team. So for
Oh, so you
me,
fixed it
it was
last year, huh?
yeah, it was kind of douchebag activity. I'm not gonna lie to you.
And you didn't even get him either.
No, dude, I did everything I could to trade into the beginning of the second round to draft him, and the only person I could have traded with to get him was Paul.
Yeah,
And Paul was like, I don't care what anyone offers me, I'm drafting Sam Laporta. So,
yeah,
as bad as I wanted him, there was nothing I could have done to get him.
yeah,
It was just destined that Paul was going to snake him. And, it
yeah. Well,
was what it was.
and my dad walked out of last year's draft with like
Smiling.
a treasure chest
Yeah. Well,
of
and now with all of the
stars.
managed changes and Zach Robinson and what the Rams did with Kyron, so the potential of what Bijan could be this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, hey, might as well start out, you mentioned him, Bijan.
Yeah, he
So
was the top
we
of our tier one.
Yeah, going through our tier list. So this is our tier one list. These were the guys that we kind of expected to start out and do
Really.
really well. And yeah, just start out, obviously, starting on their teams, we believe that they were going to be making a fantasy impact
And Bijan
day
was our
one.
highest rated skill player. Skill. So
Yeah,
that does not include tight end. Tight end is not a skill position. Tight end is its own thing. But
yeah,
he was our highest rated skill player.
yeah. So we had Bijan at our number one spot in our tier one. He was the highest rated that we believe would be a day one impact.
And he was running
Um,
that's
yeah,
yeah.
he was running back nine, and that I was actually pretty surprised because I mean the way Jahmyr Gibbs was playing, I thought he would surpass Bijan by the end of the year.
If
Like,
he had started earlier, yeah.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
Gibbs
So,
played a lot better than Bijan did.
but I would honestly like categorize them as
A
just
and
neck and
B.
neck,
A,
right there. Like
yeah. But that's what
they
we talked
are
about
pretty
in our
much,
draft, like our
yeah,
pre-draft show too, of like Bijan and Jahmyr are like A and B, and if you can get both, you want both.
yeah. And I don't think you could have gone wrong going with either of them.
Yeah.
Like it,
I think
I don't think the people that got Bijan regret getting Gibbs, and I don't think the guys that got Gibbs regret getting Bijan if
or
they
not.
flip-flopped in the first two draft picks. So,
Yeah,
you
I'm just
know,
thankful I didn't do what you and Josh wanted me to do, which was take a quarterback in between pick 1 and 3 and have your dad have
yeah,
John and Gibbs.
yeah. Well, I would have loved
That
for you
would
to
have
take
been
Bryce Young off my hands. So,
horrible. I already told you I was never going to draft Bryce Young. I was
yeah, I
always
know.
going to draft CJ if I was going to take a quarterback.
Yeah, and see, I had a lot of hope for CJ, but we're not here to talk about quarterbacks.
Anyways,
If you want
anyways,
to talk,
we talked about
if
that
you want to
last week.
hear,
You can go.
yeah, if you want to hear about our quarterbacks, go back to our last week's rookie review where we went over quarterbacks and wide receivers. But today, talking about running backs and tight ends,
So
and
other than,
our top two by far, Robinson and Gibbs.
right, other than that, in
Yeah,
tier one, we had Dalton Kincaid, which, that's he was at the bottom of our
yeah,
one, and I don't think that's a bad place for him to be. The reason
I
being, he
mean,
started getting good, consistent
yeah,
work at the end of the year when oh
yeah,
my gosh, what's his name got hurt?
yeah. Well, I
Their
mean,
their tight
he
end,
peaked
but
near the middle of the year. If I'm, well, let me get my facts straight. But I'm pretty sure he peaked near the middle of the year, and he like trailed off um near like week 15, 16. That's like when playoffs started.
mm,
Um, but I think he got good work throughout the year, and it was good seeing it. You know, him ending as what, tight end 11 in
yeah,
our league. I think that's a good start to a rookie. Uh, you know, for a rookie, um, just seeing him get to tight end 11 because you don't see many rookie tight ends making a big splash like
so
LaPorta did.
from week 7 to 11, he was pretty consistent in double digits. Then he
Yeah,
dipped in week 12 to 8, almost
yeah,
7 points. Then he got injured, so he was out Dallas and Chargers. But against New England and Miami to end the year, he was really healthy again.
yeah. And you know
13,
what?
15 points.
I
And
don't
in the
expect a
playoffs, he
lot.
was good too.
Yeah, and fantasy point wise, I don't expect a lot from my tight ends. I don't I don't expect 20-point games unless you got Kelsey.
Consistently.
But you know, consistently getting above 10 points is what I look for in a tight end. You know, somebody that's going to catch the ball a couple of times, you know, maybe get a touchdown here and there. But, you know, I think he I think we were accurate on him, keeping
Yeah.
him as a tier one tight end.
But with a
I think it was, yeah,
and that's
I
what we
think,
put on him of like we like Kincaid, but
mhm,
he's not going to be tight end one to start the year. But when
yeah,
he takes over, he's going to produce and he's going to be their tight end one of the future. That's
yeah,
how we were talking about Kincaid. We were a little bit higher on Mayer because we thought the Jimmy Garoppolo connection was going to be there. And when Jimmy G kind of was a wet noodle, that
yeah,
changed things. Which that's football. You can't predict that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to suck. I mean, I've been saying that he's sucked for years, but um, it's just one of
yeah,
those things of like, hey, sorry, Michael Mayer, but you don't have a quarterback.
yeah. So I think we were fairly accurate on Bijan and Gibbs, obviously being the top running back options, and we were accurate for most of our tier ones. Um, yeah, I think we were good on tier one. We were just missing one person. One person is, we'll
Yeah,
talk
so
about him later,
looks
but
list look
um, yeah. So let's go on to our tier two, where we have our top option for tier two was Michael Mayer. I think we were a little wrong on him.
yeah. I think
As a
just
tier
dropping them down to tier
as
three.
tight end, yeah, as tight end 35, I would drop him down to high end tier three because he still functioned. He just did not get a lot of the playing time
Yeah,
and did not get the
there's
ball
still
well. So
potential there, but
yeah,
it's gonna be a while.
yeah, and yeah. See, I don't like his consistency. He consistently
No,
would
he
catch the ball maybe like two times, three times a game. And, you know, it wasn't even, you know, deep shots or anything like that. And he only got two touchdowns throughout the year, which
yeah.
that's low end for me. When it comes to tight end, you know, obviously I want to see that 10 points
I mean,
a
other than
game.
that, like in tier two, what I think we had well was Achain.
Yeah.
Um, I think we had healthy expectations for him, and then he kind of exploded. But he had Raheem Mostert, who was doing the Lord's work, and injuries and other things. And I think our expectations for Achain were good, and where we put him are good. Maybe going forward, he can start to climb a little bit. But as of right now, I really like where we have Achain and the
Yeah.
expectations of him. Because I still don't think Mostert's out of that loop yet. But maybe going into like year three, Achain is a guy you're gonna want to start looking at.
Yeah. I would definitely start looking at him.
The rest are
And
irrelevant. I don't know why we have these names
yeah,
on, but I'll let you continue on your odd chain.
okay. See, I kind of have that same mentality on Octane. I think that, this upcoming year is kind of. I think they're still going to be splitting the backfield with Mostert, but I think Octane is his explosiveness is
Insane.
off the charts,
60
off the
points.
charts, and seeing that, um, I think there's no denying that they have a lot of skill at the running back position with Mostert and Octane. So
And Jeff
if
Wilson.
they deny that, yeah, and Jeff Wilson, but if they deny that and just run with Mostert, I think there's something wrong with that offense. And really think they need to lean on Devon Achane, or Devon Achane. Um, but I think with his injury history, this last year he was out
Yeah,
so
it's a
many
question mark.
games.
It is. It's a big question mark.
So they've got to get him healthy this offseason in order for him to do well this upcoming season and not keep him on the field. So get him out there in situations where he's going to thrive. And I think you'll see a big uptick in fantasy points, consistent fantasy points out there
Yeah, no,
from a fantasy manager's
honestly,
perspective.
dude, I don't even want to waste my time talking about everybody else.
Yeah.
Like they're all irrelevant. I
Well,
think
well,
next year
no, no, no. I
I don't even
think
want to talk about players like this.
we'll go through the rest of them though. Kendre Miller ended 70 RB 71.
Chase Brown,
Roshan Johnson ended 47. Yes, we got Chase Brown too. I mean, he was kind of an unmentionable. Israel Abanikanda, again, unmentionable. I don't think he's ever going to really see the field. Um, Zach
mention.
Charbonnet was the one kind of exception out of this that I wanted to bring up. Because it looked like he was seeing the field fairly consistently throughout the year. So it's nice to see him utilized. I just don't see it coming to fruition, like seeing him in a starting role for
Yeah,
a while. And that was a lot of the concern, him getting drafted last year. Um, he's sitting behind fairly skilled running back already and a
yeah.
young running
I
back.
mean,
So,
and you saw that resurgence come out of Ken
mhm. And I really think that unless Kenneth Walker gets injured, you're not
significantly injured.
you're not going to see Zach Charbonnet very much.
Yeah,
So he's a good handcuff, but I don't think he is a starting material, or he is starting material.
no.
Um, okay, so that kind of rounds out our tier two list. Um, let's go on to our tier three, which honestly, like I said, a majority of our tier two running backs weren't even, I wouldn't even consider in tier two anymore, just because they didn't work out. Um, but we
Was Darnell
actually
Washington,
only
and
have,
that's the Steelers that did nothing.
yeah, it was just Darnell Washington, and that's it. And yeah, again, he didn't do anything. So, um, some guys that we did not have on our initial tier list, the
We'll
ones
get
that we
there.
haven't really talked about.
We'll we'll we'll,
Um,
we'll get there.
we'll get there.
It's it's
We'll get
uh
there.
it's that's number four. But I mean, starting off on like how I feel as
Yeah.
like the list as a whole, obviously the big thing that we're missing is LaPorta, and then maybe just dropping some unmentionables. Uh,
Well, I don't even think they're unmentionables. The two running backs that I'm thinking of are not unmentionables to me because I think they might have a not a resurgence, but I think they
oh,
might go up
oh
in
yeah,
fantasy value
that's
this
different too. I
next
mean, I'm
year.
talking about how I feel about the list as a
Yeah.
whole. A lot of unmentionables
Well,
that need to drop down, and
oh,
LaPorta,
okay, gotcha.
not being there. That's my overall feeling of the list. And then yeah, we'll go into depth about those guys here in a second. Because
Yeah.
they are definitely worth talking about, especially with free agency coming up.
Yeah. See, and as the list as a whole, the tier one through three, I liked the class as a whole. I think the running back
Yeah.
class has a ton of potential
There's a little bit of
um,
everything in this
for
class.
this upcoming year.
Some
There
good running
was.
backs, some good wide receivers, some good
It was a
quarterback.
good mix. Like no one, um, no one position group had a dominate or was dominant over the
Yeah.
others.
It
I
wasn't
think it
like
was a
this was
pretty
the
balanced
class
class.
of,
Yeah,
like no,
yeah.
there's some good
Like
players.
this upcoming year, I feel like this is a class of quarterbacks that's coming in.
Yeah.
But, you know, um, okay,
Well,
so
quarterbacks and Marvin Harrison Jr.
yeah, yeah. Um, so which position group was like the best out of the rookie class? I know it's
I
been
think it was
pretty
running
even.
backs,
I
but
I would I would lean running backs just because there was no like majorly dominant wide receiver. There was wide receivers across the board
that
that
looked
were good, that looked good, and that showed up
yeah,
this year. But there was no like one wide receiver that was like, oh my God, he is fantastic. And
yeah.
just
I mean, like
seeing
like Puka was really good, but
Puka was really good, but yeah, he also had Matthew Stafford throwing to him that
yeah,
benefited him. But and he was in a system that really favored his
fed
play
him.
style.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I really like the running back class just because and it was kind of like the two superstars and maybe a couple mediocre and then the rest.
Yeah.
But it was mainly because Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan.
Bijan are the
Like
real.
those two, they were fantastic this year, and they have so much potential going into this upcoming year. I have to say, like the running back group was great. I think they were the best group out of this class. But they weren't like leaps and bounds above the rest. It was
No, yeah.
pretty across the board.
And I mean,
Um,
which like yeah, my favorite people to watch. Like I couldn't pick one. Like it was Gibbs and Bijan, and it's not close. Like watching those two.
for me, it was Gibbs. I loved it. I loved
Yeah,
watching his
Gibbs is my
explosiveness out
first,
there.
but Bijan makes plays that are just insane.
Yeah,
Uh, but I think I do agree with you. Like I like Gibbs' game a little bit better. Um, just in terms of what he was doing for the Lions offense.
yeah,
But yeah.
yeah. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead. Let's wipe the slate clean and let's redo our big board.
Sam
All
Laporta,
right.
you are in tier
Okay.
one.
All right. So our tier one, would you move him up to a high tier one
Yeah,
past Bijan and Gibbs or
yeah.
just under Bijan and Gibbs?
I think past Bijan and Gibbs. For
Really? Okay. I would agree with
I mean,
that.
for a
I
tight
would
end one, that's big.
uh Yeah, yeah, and that is big for a rookie, coming into this year. So I would say, yeah, I would agree with that
I
argument
think it's
of
definitely bold to say,
Laporta
but
over
that's
Bijan
how I
for sure.
feel
Yeah.
about
Well,
Sam.
I mean, his skill level showed it out on the field. He was there. He
Dude,
showed up every game, and he was a big part of that offense's success this year,
yeah.
and what got them all the way to the NFC Championship. So, you know, I I agree with that. I think moving Laporta up because Laporta wasn't even on our radar for the most part when we were doing this list. Mainly because we were hearing whispers in like June and July about him, and I think we made this podcast
I mean,
earlier. I think
I
we
was,
made it in
I
the
was pretty,
spring.
and I was pretty sold on him
Yeah,
for
I
him.
know, but like I started hearing rumors about him during training camp, and I think we made this before training camp.
Yeah, it was.
So I didn't even have him really on my radar very much.
Yeah,
So he wasn't even on our list. And there's a couple of guys that weren't.
yeah,
But I would move him up high tier two or high tier one, sorry. High
yeah.
tier one um, over Jahmyr and Bijan. Okay. So other than that, tier one, you're not moving anything else around
Mm,
in tier
I
one.
mean, who am I moving up? No one. Yeah, no one other than
Okay.
Sam did tier one.
Yeah. See, I would move Kincaid out of tier one. But what
Yeah, I mean
maybe that can be
that's
our
my next thing.
transition.
Of who am I moving down
So yeah,
to? Kincaid.
let's go to tier two. Who are you putting in high tier two?
So I'm dropping Kincaid out to like that mid tier two. I mean, in terms of like high tier two, we can go ahead and throw this name out there, but
Yeah.
Tajay Spears is
Yep.
going
Yep.
high two.
I think he is my addition to high tier two
It
is
looks like
Tyjae
Derrick
Spears.
Henry's out and
Yeah,
Tajay is in, and he looked like he could run that thing.
yeah, he did really well subbing in for Derrick Henry. Um, and I think he could be the next Titans starting running back. And we'll see how the draft goes. Maybe they draft a running back high. I don't see why they would do that, but
No, if I'm
you
Tennessee,
know,
I'm drafting wide receivers.
yeah, of course. But who knows? Who knows what goes on? They surprise us every year.
This is
But I agree. I think Tyjae Spears deserves to be up there. Um,
because I mean, Will
I
Levis
don't think
still
I
good
would change.
playing that thing, but he needs somebody else to
Yeah,
throw it up to that's not DeAndre Hopkins.
yeah, and okay, yeah, yeah, of course. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins wasn't really doing it for him last year. He had a couple of good games, but that's it.
Yeah, I mean, he had some big
Yeah,
games, but then there were some
but
other
I
games
think they're
he had
I
to.
think they have a solid running back position right now. I mean, they could use depth, but that can be made with, free agent acquisitions and deep draft
End of
picks.
the year,
But
D Hop was
yeah,
doing that thing.
so my tier two, I would say I would put Tyjae Spears up there, high tier two. I would move Dalton Kincaid down to a mid tier two, mid to high tier two. I wouldn't. I don't know if I feel comfortable having him solidly at a high tier two. Um, but his performance was good this year. I would just like to see a little more of it this upcoming year. And then Devon Achan would be up there with Tajay.
Yeah,
And that's honestly, that's about it. I
yeah,
don't think I trust any of these other running backs or tight ends to be up there with tier two.
no,
I would throw every single one of them down into tier three or even unmentionables.
yeah,
One person that we did not have on our list at all last year that kind of surprised us this year was Jaleel McLaughlin. I would throw him into tier three,
yeah.
but he has a potential to go to tier two, low in tier two.
I mean, yeah, if Javante isn't doing it and
Yeah,
move on to speed threat, maybe.
yeah,
But
maybe.
let's
Because
let's
I
still
mean,
talk future.
yeah, yeah, of course. Let's go on to our future. Who is your year two superstar out of running backs and tight ends?
Mine is you like it's LaPorta and Gibbs. Like LaPorta is still going to be a superstar. I think Gibbs is going to get a lot more work in year
Mhm.
two. You can also argue Bijan with a different offense coordinator.
Yeah,
I think for sure, like that Detroit offense is going to be insane next
yeah.
year.
See, and what I fear, because I also have Gibbs and Bijan as my year two superstars, along with Laporta. I think I just fear Laporta might have a bit of a sophomore slump, and I guess we can go into that. But I know Bijan and Gibbs are my year two superstars. I don't think they can go wrong in those offenses. I think Gibbs, even splitting as much of
He's so
time
good.
as he did last year, I think he's only going to be getting more. I think he's going to be getting more time. So he can only go up to me. I really that's my opinion on him. So I can't see him getting any worse. I think he's going to get much better. Same with uh, the coaching change in Atlanta. There's it can't get any worse than what it was last year for Bijan.
Well, yeah, but
So
when your head coach comes in and says, "I like Bijan and I like Drake London,"
yeah,
that can only mean good things for people like
yeah,
that. And then you bring in Zach Robinson, who's an
yeah,
alumni of Sean McVay, and you
yeah.
see some of the things that the Rams do, and it can only
Mhm,
make you feel good about the running back position and even the wide
yeah.
receiver position.
And tight end, Kyle Pitts.
I mean, Raheem Morris didn't mention Kyle Pitts yet, so I wouldn't get too high on that train yet. but we'll see.
I know, I know. I'm excited for him though. Just the change in situation that they have to see what it does. But yeah, okay. So who going back to what I said previously about LaPorta, who is your sophomore slump? Because to me, I think LaPorta doesn't necessarily dip into a major sophomore slump, but I think he regresses down
Yeah.
to a more reasonable
It could
output.
it could maybe be Tajay Spears. Um, just with getting the lead back role, and maybe he's not it. I
Yeah,
think I like him more than I think he's gonna slump. But I couldn't really think of anyone that I thought has a good chance of slumping from this position group that
yeah,
was, somewhat good already. So,
yeah,
like, if I had to throw a maybe wrench in there, it'd be Spears.
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I could see Spears. If he is not the guy, if they don't think that he can handle that, the amount of workload that Derrick Henry's been holding, they might bring in somebody else.
Yeah.
Um, but
Well, speaking of which, like, who are you worried
yeah,
about entering the draft?
well, he's one of my guys that I'd be worried about. Um, just not 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 to a major extent, because I do think Tyjae Spears could be good, because he showed it last year. But again, it's a backup role. It's like Alexander Madison with the Vikings. He was great behind Dalvin Cook in a backup role. He was very effective as you know as that relief back. But will he be able to handle the workload of a workhorse back?
Yeah, we'll see.
So,
The only
we'll
thing
see. I
I could
really
really
think
think
that's
of is QBs impacting how the offenses
mhm,
play. So it could potentially impact your tight ends, running backs in a positive way. It could
yeah,
potentially impact them in a negative way.
yeah,
All I know is there's going to be a lot of changes made at that position. So
yeah,
that's always kind of worrying to be like, is this going to work? Is this going to not work? Because you look at Will Levis last
yeah,
year, you know, oh man, is this going to work? Not really. So,
yeah,
and then, same thing, you look at Ritter, even though he wasn't a rookie last year, is that
yeah.
QB change going to work? Not really. Is Bryce Young
Hmm.
going to work for Carolina? Really did not. Is CJ Stroud going to work for the Texans? Really did. Really made an impact on the other positions. So it's just one of those of how is that change going to
Yeah,
impact everybody else?
yeah. And okay, so I was going over my list. Who are you most worried about post draft? To see like who's drafted. Um, I think my number one, Kincaid. I'm worried about
That's
Kincaid
my
because
next point
they're
of who
gonna
I'm
be
ship. I'm jumping ship from
yeah,
Kincaid,
yeah, because
personally.
Kincaid, they're gonna be adding pass catchers on the Bills. They have to. They
Yeah,
have to
they're
add
trying
pass
to tune
catchers.
in that offense to get them a
Yeah,
little bit further than
they
Mahomes.
need to get Josh Allen help. So, I really think Kincaid is going to regress even more than where he is. I do not. I think there's a lot of skill there. I think there's hope, but
A
if
lot
they
of
bring in some top pass catchers, Josh
yeah,
Allen's going to be busy throwing to them and not Kincaid.
yeah.
So, and I would agree on jumping ship. Honestly, jumping ship, I'm jumping ship on Israel Anaconda, Zach Charbonnet, Roshan Johnson, Chase Brown,
Yeah.
and maybe Kendre Miller.
Well, if you play for the
Oh,
beer
yeah,
for the Bears, I'm not on that ship.
yeah.
Like I'm not even
So
close to that ship.
I'm jumping ship on all of it. I had hope for Roshan Johnson last year, and he did not end up being the guy. So I'm jumping ship on him.
Yeah. Well,
So
lastly, we have best contract window, and I think that hands down goes to your first round running backs and Gibbs and Bijan.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
those contracts with the that 4th-year option are going to be huge for those teams with how much
Yep.
talent that you've seen from them.
Yeah. And yeah, with how like contract issues have been going, especially with running backs, I
You
think
love
it's good to
having them
have
on.
them locked in for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
before you toss them to the wolves. But yeah, so that is our rookie review for running backs and tight ends. Thank y'all for watching and tuning in. We appreciate all of the views, all of the comments and whatnot. So thank y'all for watching, and uh, I believe our next couple episodes are going to be statathon. So
Yep.
be watching for it. We're going to be going over all of the stats from last year for each different position, and it's going to be fun. We had a lot of fun doing it last year, going over all of the stats, all of the numbers. It's a lot of math and it's fun. But all right, thank y'all. We will see you next week. Be sure to like and subscribe on our YouTube channel and check us out on anywhere you get your uh, podcasts. And yeah, like and subscribe and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and uh, and Facebook at Last Place FP. Thank y'all.
Never forget.
See you next week. Oh God, of
Never forget.
course.
Sometimes you're right, and sometimes
And
you're right.
sometimes you're the champ.
And we'll see you next week.